My big term is how I eradicate entrepreneurial
Yes.
poverty. Never aspired to be an entrepreneur, didn't even really understand what it was, but became one just because necessity, really because of the deep struggles I've had. I'm trying to redefine what successful entrepreneurship is.
I would give a higher weight to someone who started a business and failed, now is maybe in the job market, versus someone who did their 3 years of university. Greatest disservice you can do your kid is not let them suffer. But in the third generation,
They destroy it.
Mike Michalowicz is the entrepreneur behind 4 multi-million-dollar companies and the author of best-selling business books including Profit First, Clockwork, and All In. His newest book, The Money Habit, is a groundbreaking approach to personal finance.
The job of a leader is to say, how do we achieve your goals through your job? And when you care for your colleagues' visions, reciprocity is they will care for your vision.
I love that. I have with me today Mike Michalowicz. He is a 4-time founder. He's a best-selling author, and he was once humbled by a piggy bank. Can you believe that? Which I know we're going to get into. And this is a little bit of a different episode than I would say like our typical Shopify 1% episodes, but this is going to be super, super relevant. A lot of you probably know Mike Michalowicz. He's got a number of books. Is it 7, 8?
Believe a 10, but who's
10.
counting, you know?
Okay.
I am.
Okay. So, we've worked with hundreds of thousands of Shopify stores, and one of the main things that happen when they fail, it's not because they didn't have good products. It's not because they don't have good SEO or good product page optimization and landing pages that convert. It's often because they run out of cash, or they run out of money, or they're founder burnout, founder fallout between partners. Like it's often something other than the actual business itself, like the mechanics of it. And I think this is super relevant to merchants who are running an online store, and our audience is Shopify store owners. You've been kind of at the forefront of, I would say this is not, you've got a way that you term it, but like taking care of the entrepreneur.
So my big term is to eradicate entrepreneurial poverty.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yes. Mike, give me your quick backstory.
Yeah, sure.
And we'll get right into it.
So the quick bullet points, graduated university and couldn't get a job. That's how I became an entrepreneur. I couldn't get a good job. I had one for a while.
Yeah.
But never, like you hear these stories like rags to riches. I was struggling, I kicked out of my house. I grew this business to prove myself, or came from an experienced entrepreneurial family and I'm the next generation. Nothing of that. Like none of that for me. Never aspired to be an entrepreneur. Didn't even really understand what it was, but became one just because of necessity and a little bit too much drinking. One night I went out after college. I was working for this computer store, and I'm out with a buddy, and we're throwing back some cold ones. And he's like, do you think you're working harder than the boss? I'm like, damn straight I'm working harder than the boss. He's like, well, you think you're better than the boss? I'm like, I'm damn straight. I'm smarter and better. He's like, what are you going to do? I'm like, I'm going to literally like a drunken stupor. I leave a voicemail for the boss. His name was Anthony.
No.
Anthony, kick your ass. Next morning, I wake up in this like cold sweat from the hangover and my idiocy. It was like the worst drunk dial of all time.
Oh,
and
man.
I'm embarrassed, and that was not me. And the guy's like, you're fired. Like, F you. And he goes, if you try to do this business, I will destroy you, you ass. So that's how I started my business. Not recommended. And,
what do they call those in life? Force functions.
That's right. I call it liquid courage. That's what I call it. Or
yeah, you need
but you're right. It's irrevocable to your point. Like there's no going back. And I started the business. And by the way, he sued me 2 days later because I didn't know what to do. I called clients of his saying, hey, I started a new business. I didn't know that's illegal. And he starts a lawsuit against me, and he's right. And we settled immediately because I didn't know what I was doing. But I actually got a couple clients out of that, and we agreed we'll leave it that way. And fear became the best motivator of my life because I wake up at 5 in the morning. I'd work till 5 o'clock the next morning because I was in survival mode. I also had a wife and a child at this time. I got started early in life. But at a certain point, that fear became confidence, and I grew that business. I fell in love with entrepreneurship in the journey, and I ultimately sold it. And then I started another business, and I sold it to, this time, a Fortune 500. And I thought I had everything figured out. That's when the piggy bank moment happened. But I've been an entrepreneur my entire life. Today, because of the wins, but really because of the deep struggles I've had. I'm trying to redefine what successful entrepreneurship is, trying to find those little catalyst moments that actually serve you. What are the few things you can do that have big impact? And I write about them. So today, I'm a business owner. I do invest in businesses, but my core function is I'm an author.
How do you define an entrepreneur?
So an entrepreneur is someone who has a vision and activates resources to make that vision a reality. I don't think an entrepreneur is what we commonly hear is someone that hustles and grinds, who does the work themselves. That's called a job. And here's the context, Jay. If you look back into your class, did you grow up in Manitoba?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I assume you had a small kindergarten class, 20 kids, maybe 25?
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah. Mine was a little bit bigger, but most classes are about that size. 17% of the world population ever attempts starting a business. So let's just pretend there's 20 kids in your class. 20 times 17%, that's 3 or 4 kids. But here's the other stat. Only 20% of people that start a business will sustain it successfully, not constantly struggling, living check by check, or just go out of business. 20% times 17% is 3%. 3% times 20 kids is roughly 1 kid and not even, which means 19 kids from your class, Jay, are looking for good jobs with good companies to do good things and live a good life.
Yeah.
The job of an entrepreneur is not to do the job. It's not to hustle and grind. The job of an entrepreneur is to create jobs. That's our job. And the reward is profitability, the economy, the revenue coming in. We support the economy. So an entrepreneur is not a job doer by no stretch of imagination. It's someone who organizes other people. And in that process is of service to those individuals. You leverages technologies, resources, and tools, and makes the impossible possible. That's what an entrepreneur is to me.
Would you say you can be a business owner, but not an entrepreneur, and an entrepreneur, but not a business owner?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yes. I think you can be a business owner, not an entrepreneur. A business owner is someone who's executing on process, often is inserting themselves in the business. You and I could buy a Chick-fil-A franchise. Are you an entrepreneur? I don't think so. I think you're a business owner. You're executing.
It's a good example.
Yeah, you're executing a very good process.
Right.
You're definitely a business owner. And you're maybe working in the business too. An entrepreneur is someone who manifests something that's never existed before or hasn't existed in that flavor. I think entrepreneurship is the ultimate expression of ourselves. And I definitely don't think entrepreneurship is for everybody. I think there's other ways to express ourselves, other platforms for it. But for some people, it truly is a calling. Like I got to do it, and I got to do it my way, as Frank said. And if that's you, then you're an entrepreneur.
I think one of the things we look for, like at our company when we're hiring, is I like to look for people who I would consider entrepreneurial. And if they had, like, I would give a higher weight to someone who started a business and failed and now is maybe in the job market versus someone who did their 3 years of university and they come out and they have a degree, but they've never attempted anything.
Yeah.
Actually, I think Harvard one time they did a study on this. And I'm getting the numbers wrong, but what they did was they said someone who lost $200,000 in a business, and then someone who spent $200,000 on a college degree in 4 years, and they took the same two people, and then they said, no, it wasn't same two people, it was groups of people, but they said now they're both at the same point. One just lost $200, one spent $200. Which one would you bet on?
Yeah.
At that point?
Yeah.
And the statistics were the person who had failed but hadn't gone to college, but they had gone through failure. They'd experienced that, and so I often think about, because I agree with you 100%. I see some people who own a business, but they own their job, so it's not, they're not an entrepreneur.
There's no question you learn through the pain. I have a good friend who just grew up in a very tough environment, and he's been growing up as a kid. It was in a lot of fights. And I know another guy who went to karate class and is now like a brown belt. And so the question is the brown belt versus my buddy street fighter.
Who would win?
Yeah, who's gonna win? I picked
perfect
street fighter
example.
Guy. And it's so funny. One person's trained, but they're trained in a very specific almost dance. The street fighter guy knows when you're down and you have a broken fist, how to keep on fighting. They've been through that variability of the unexpected. And I think the MBA student goes through a very kind of linear training, but when something out of that alignment presents itself, it gets flustered because there's no experience. It's that person who's lost all that money that now had to navigate with a broken fist effectively and still was able to fight.
How do you teach that?
You can't, right? I mean, you can't. Dude, I thought I was so, and the funny thing is success jades you to thinking that you're a genius. So rewinding, my first two businesses, I built them not effectively. I was focused only on sales. They weren't profitable. I was playing a cash flow game of collecting money today and not paying bills till as late as possible, thinking that's how you run a business. And I was so lucky that I sold them because at a certain point, the house of cards was going to come down. But then I'm like, oh my God, I'm a genius. Like I can start businesses and grow them and sell them. I'm Midas. I am Midas. It's only when I got my ass handed to me that I realized, oh my God, the volumes of ignorance and arrogance that I have, and I need to fix it. You could have smacked me in the face 100 times, say, Mike, you're an idiot, how you're running your business. And I had all the proof that I was right until I got my ass handed to me. So I think you can't teach it. You got to feel it and get the burn.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's not devastating and takes you out of the game though.
This is me selfishly asking, because I have, I think we have similar young kids. Mine are 12 and 8 years.
My young kid's 32, so no.
Oh, my goodness. I thought you had a younger one in there.
My youngest is 24, but I did that for dramatic effect.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I heard someone say one time, the greatest disservice you can do your kid is not let them suffer. And as a parent, we want to fix everything. And if they're sad, we want to make them happy. If they're hurt, we want to help them not hurt. If they have a friend that, I don't know, picked on them at school, we want to solve every problem. And I'm thinking right now, as we're talking about this, like we have to maybe letting them feel that hurt is the beginning of that entrepreneurial spirit in a way, maybe.
Yeah, man, learn to the burn. So my oldest, his name is Tyler, when he was in high school, we moved, and this was part of my arrogance. I sold my second business and I'd become a millionaire in my early 30s. And I'm like, oh, I'm hot potatoes. So my wife and I decided to move to an affluent town in New Jersey. It's more of like an old money town. It's called Mountain Lakes. The irony is there's no mountains and no lakes. It's like, the proper term is like hilly puddles, But so we move into Mountain Lakes and my son's like, hey, Dad, like all my friends are getting cars, like, a BMW or whatever. And we're like, oh, so what are you going to get? He's like, well, I want to no, what are you going to get yourself? And he's like, what? And and the reason I did this is not that we couldn't have helped him or done it for him, because I had to buy my own car. So it's like paybacks to my child. Well, fast forward a few years later, he buys this like beat up Lumina. He works at a deli. He makes $2,000. And once he gets that $2,000 point, he buys the most beat up, disgusting car on the planet. It stinks. Like, smells bad. 2 years later, I asked him, I said, how do you feel about buying your own car? And he starts welling up. He's like, Dad, I'm so proud of me. It was like the Snoop Dogg, when he got his star on the thing. And he's like, lastly, I want to thank me.
Yeah.
The pride he has. There's magic there. And that became a moment for my wife and I, and that we got to be very careful about being helicopter or lawnmower parents. We need to learn through the burn. And us entrepreneurs, I know people who've been gifted businesses because the prior generation built it. And sometimes they're successful, but more than not, they didn't go through the burn of building. And there is these calamities that happen that never should have.
Yeah. They say most businesses will, if the kid witnessed their parents struggle to build the business, it will continue. But in the third generation,
they destroy it.
That's where they fall apart because they didn't see what it took to get built. So
yeah.
Okay, can you take us back to we've mentioned the piggy bank moment a couple times, but I'm sure there's a piggyback story in there
probably
somewhere too. Tell me about how that changed your trajectory as an entrepreneur, and then I want to get into what this means for defining wealth and for the modern entrepreneur.
Yeah. So the context, I sell my first business is in computer systems. I sell it privately and made a good chunk of money. Then I sell my second business, which was in computer crime investigation. sell to a Fortune 500. I become a millionaire, and I'm in like 31. I'm like, oh my God. And
didn't you buy like four cars or something or something there?
Dude, I bought a BMW, a Land Rover. I buy a Dodge Viper because I always promise myself when I have arrived, it was introduced when I was in college. I'm like, I'm going to get a Dodge Viper one day.
I wanted one of those cars so bad when I was younger too.
Yeah. I got a GTS. Yeah. Like I got to have it. Super loud. You know, it had like all these different things to get the horsepower up to 650. And I say to myself, I'm building my car stable. Like all these douche, can I say the word douchery?
You say anything like
all these like douche canoe moves. And I think I'm a genius. Well, I found out that there is a word, it's in the Webster Dictionary. When someone's like arrogant and ignorant, what is it? The word is dick. Dude, I was the biggest dick. And I didn't think I was, but I'm like, oh, look at my success. We even went out to Lanai, which is a private island, Lanai in Hawaii. Larry Ellison owns the island now. And we got a house to go on sabbatical, like just to live where I've arrived. But I also said, I got to maintain this. So I'm becoming an angel investor. I started investing in all these businesses. And I said, well, since I'm here, we're going to be successful. I was horrible at it. And so I call myself the angel of death. I destroyed it. I'll never forget, it was February 14th, it's Valentine's Day, 2008. My accountant calls me. This is 2 years after I had sold my business. And he goes, I've never seen someone lose so quickly. I don't know what's going on, Mike, but you got to declare bankruptcy. I'm like, and the funny thing is I had logically saw my bank accounts just wiping out, but emotionally, it's so amazing what the emotions can do. I'm like, well, I'm just one client away and I'm almost there. And I just couldn't admit it until that day. And I came home to my family. I'll never forget it. In Mountain Lakes, I came home to my wife and my 3 children. They were preparing dinner for Valentine's Day. And I walk in the door and I look like a ghost. My wife is like, did someone die, Mike? Wait, what's going on? I'm like, we're losing the house. And she's like, and there's silence and fear and I'm crying and we sit down and my kids are there and I'm like, you and I, Jay, you're a provider for you got 2 children, your wife, you're a provider for your family. You have defined that title as part of your identity. And so did I. Actually, that was my identity, the provider. And this is the one thing I couldn't do. I didn't do it. I did the reverse. I stole the money effectively. And I remember, I'm telling you, we lost our house 30 days later. And I decided not to declare bankruptcy, by the way. We liquidated to cover our tax bill and start anew. And my daughter, she was 9 years old at the time. She said, Daddy, can I still go to horseback riding lessons? And to give context, this was like a group class. It was about $20 and 6 or 7 kids would go for a half hour and learn. And she loved horses. And I said, I'm so sorry, but for now, we have to stop that too. And I'm crying. And she gets up and you see her face, she starts bawling and like, I get emotional now. Boogers popping out. And she starts running away from me. And I'm like, look at what I've become. And I hear her door just slam. And I'm sitting there and, sometimes seconds feel like hours. And I'm just sitting here in such pain and embarrassment and shame and also understanding I wanted to run away too. But it was only a second later, that door flings open. There was still a dent when we moved out of the house. Ultimately, there was a dent in the wall where she swung it open. Behind the door is where she kept her piggy bank. And she comes running down the steps, like almost falling. She goes, Daddy. She goes, I can fix this. She goes, I'll pay our bills.
Wow.
And
wow.
I get so emotional
wow.
about it. I'm so ashamed. And she offers her piggy bank, and she was saving for a horse.
Wow.
I remember that was like the rock bottom moment. I said, what the hell have I brought about? The other interesting thing is it wasn't like the next morning I said, I'm going to fix this. Next morning, I'm like, I'm hitting the bottle. Like I went through depression for a couple of years, self-diagnosed, never went to a therapist. I do now. And it's only in reflection years later, because it'll be a couple of years, I said that was the most important moment of my life because I finally had to admit, I'm not a good entrepreneur. I don't understand what it means to be successful. I think luck is effort or knowledge when it's luck. I don't know if I understand the principles. I'm going to devote my life to understanding every element of entrepreneurship, what makes it truly successful. I'm going to challenge every notion I have and find what I believe to be the truth. Now that I found that profitability isn't the bottom line, that's bullshit. Profit has to come first. I found that the hustle and grind is total nonsense. And yet we hear it echoed relentlessly. It's actually removal from the business that's the most important catalyst. And when I find something that works for me, I now invest in businesses successfully. Now I deploy in those businesses, and then if it works for everybody, all the guinea pigs, if you will, I put in a book, and anyone that wants to explore it, I hope it serves them deeply. Because that's my mission now.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that story. That's, as someone who has kids, I would be moved too.
Yeah.
Like I went through a similar point in my life, and I've shared it on our podcast before as well too, where a business I had to shut down, got down to my last month. And I was talking to another entrepreneur earlier today who had gone through bankruptcy as well. And I think it's good to talk. It's more normal than more people think. Like no one talks about all the times they failed, but they post on social media all the successes and wins and everything else, but they don't see all the other times. And so I think it's good to share. It's good to share that. And I think, for those listening, like one thing that I've learned over the years, you'll probably attest to this, is that I heard one time this quote that has stuck with me, that nothing grows on the top of mountains. Stuff only grows in the valleys.
That's great.
And when we're in our valleys of life, that's when the best growth happens. And it's often we can, skip by it by numbing that in whatever way we numb it through. There's any plethora of ways, but if you don't, and if you take it for what it is, that's growth. And it's just beautiful what grew out of that experience. And so I'm sure your daughter's proud of, when she looks back on it, she must be like, I'm sure she has a better memory of it now. Right.
Yeah.
Like, and
here's what's interesting. So she now is 27. So this goes back, 18 years. And I asked her recently, I said, remember that day when it was the most important day of my life, when you put that piggy bank down? She goes, no. And I'm like, it's like a balloon, when you put a needle and it goes.
Yeah.
I'm like, hold on.
I wrote this book about it and you don't remember it? Yeah.
I'm like, you don't remember any of it? She goes, no. And then it hit me. I was like, oh my gosh, this is just who you are. Like, this is how you're wired. She is such a good kid. I still call her a kid. She's such a good person. I'm like, oh, you just give everything you've got to care for someone else. Like, yeah. So it's interesting, the memories, how they're different for different people because of the importance in that moment. But when you're really capable at something, when you're really good and natural at it, it becomes almost unmemorable. The best entrepreneurs I have are so in the default of being good entrepreneurs, however that's defined, that they don't even realize that that's their talent. I think we all had our moments. The beauty of that is the next day, for very few of us, can it be inspirational? It's only in reflection once you're past it, the pain and the desperation part. Once that wound is healed, the scar remains, but now you can look at that scar and say, okay, how can I leverage this to my advantage? Or what has it meant for me? Or how has it redefined my character? And I believe the greatest entrepreneurs use something like that as the platform for expression. So I'm on this relentless mission now to eradicate entrepreneurial poverty. Entrepreneurial poverty is this perception of success, this desire of success, but the reality of struggle. I want to be rich. I have no money. I don't want to work. I work my ass off. That gap is what I call entrepreneurial poverty. Once you or I have a pain that's so visceral, we've experienced it as opposed to gone through an MBA course, but lived it. Now it becomes part of me. And I'm on this path to resolve it. Every day, I'm like, how do I help people not experience entrepreneurial poverty? But here's the ultimate lesson behind that. The reason I'm on that path is very selfish. The true reason of why I do what I do is I need to learn this. What we teach is, in fact, what we need to learn. And what I'm trying to do to serve others is because I really need to resolve this for myself.
Wow. So true. I want to talk about Profit First that's your best-selling book?
Yeah, that's my bell cow. Yeah.
It's when I mentioned you were coming on the podcast to a friends of mine, they say, oh, I read Profit First. Oh, I've read Profit First.
Yeah.
There's a girl I know quite well. She's a coach. or she's
Like a business coach or?
No, she teaches the system, like Profit
She's a
First.
Profit First professional.
Yeah.
That's what we call them. Yeah.
So I didn't know the term for it, but that book resonated with me a lot because the company that failed for me, actually, it was right around the same time as yours. It was 2008. It was 2008.
Yeah.
2009.
Tough year, man.
Yeah. It had nothing to do with the housing collapse or anything else. I ran an online e-commerce business, and I grew up in a family business, actually, that my dad started. I grew up as a kid working with him.
Yeah.
But then eventually we sold archery supplies.
Oh, that's cool.
Bow and arrow.
Actually sitting right outside my window here.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Well, I was the national archery champion like 4 years in a row when I was a kid.
If you're ever down this way, we're shooting.
Okay. I love it. We had an indoor range, 24 lanes, pro shop, and I would teach lessons and do birthday parties and all that. But in later on, I ended up starting to sell the stuff online. And then eventually, my dad's dream was always that I would take over the store, but then I started selling the stuff online. So he said, why don't you make this your own business? And so I rented a big warehouse and I started stocking up with inventory and selling, and sales were going well. Like every month our sales were getting more and more and more, but I was like, inventory is expensive and hiring employees and everything. I was never profitable, but sales were growing. And I always what I told myself was I compared it to a hot dog stand. And I would say in my head, there's this efficiency or economy of scale where, like, if you have a hot dog stand and you sell, it costs whatever, let's say $500 a day for your permit and whatever.
Yeah.
So the first hot dog you sell costs you $500. The second one, $250. The third one, whatever that. Do the math, right? You don't make money until you're like 200th hot dog, whatever. And so I was shipping 10 packages a day, then 15 a day, then 20 a day. And I had a lot of overhead because being in Canada, I had to go back and forth across the border and whatever. But it was kind of like when I got to 90 packages a day, I was going to be profitable. That was what I just had to make it there. And so I maxed out every credit card, every line of credit, terms with vendors, because you get like net 30 and net 90 on everything. But eventually I couldn't do it. Bills couldn't pay this one. Then I had to pay something over here and juggle it. And I ended up closing it down. And there's a quote in your book. You said, and I'm probably going to get it wrong, but it was sentiment to the extent of profitability isn't an event. It's a habit. And that really struck me because actually just this morning, I got off a call with another founder. I angel invest in a lot of companies too. And This other founder said to me, hey, we just hit profitability. And it's been like 4 years. They started the company and they hit, and I'm like, I'm trying to balance this with profitability isn't an event. It's a habit. And it's just ingrained in our language that, like, I hit profitability. I have to reach profitability. So this, I think, is something that probably 90% of our listeners, this is language they use. I have to hit profitability. I have to get a certain scale. What do you say to, like, all the e-commerce stores right now? They aren't paying themselves. They're trying to grow, but they're doing it. I'm going to give you a platform to talk about this because I think it's so relevant to our listeners.
Yeah. And I'm radically opinionated, but I'll give context and proof first. So we have over 1.1 million businesses that have deployed Profit First.
Wow.
When I invest in businesses, I specifically invest in at-risk businesses, meaning they are treading water, and sometimes treading water for years. They're laden with debt. The vast majority we turn to permanent profitability within 30 days. And so the question, of course, is how can a business that's been in business for 4 years or 10 years, we went to one business for 10 years, and they never were profitable, and we can make them profitable in 30 days? The reason it's behavioral. The word event, a derivative of that, is eventuality. So the belief is that profit is an eventuality, that one day I'll get there. And there's this belief that I need to grow my way to it. I need to grow my way to profit, which profit we define as a healthy business. So I have to get big enough to be healthy. And that's a perverted belief. Growth of an organization is an amplification of what you're doing. So what most businesses do, they say, well, I'm selling this item. I need to sell more of it to be profitable. Now, I'm not selling 10 of them and being profitable, but If I sell 20, maybe I'll be profitable. But the thing is, if you can't be profitable at 10, growing it to 20 actually, in most cases, will amplify the costs. So you'll actually be less profitable. Then they fall into a cash flow game. They say, well, if I collect the money sooner and spend it later, then I'll be profitable. No, you're playing with cash flow. So you'll see more cash in your bank for a period of time, but those bills are coming and they're going to wipe you out. So here's what we do. We take the profit first. So we go into a business like that, and we can do it with any Shopify business. And we actually have invested in e-commerce businesses, one that sold specifically candy. We went into it and we said, we're going to start, we want a 20% bottom line. And they're like, well, it'll take me a long time to get there. Like, no, we're going to start there. So every time money comes in, there's a transaction, we're going to take 20%, put it in a profit account, hide it away. Now, if the average cart is $30 for them, you don't have $30. You now have $26 or $24 because we took $6 off the table. How are you going to do $24? What happens is we say that profit first won't fix your business. Profit first will tell you what needs to be fixed within your business. When you take your profit first and you only have $25, you realize this is what I actually need to operate off of. Where am I incurring unnecessary expenses? And the areas are common, usually underpriced, which means the value proposition's off, overstaffed, unnecessary storage. In businesses that sell inventory, my God, are they having way too much inventory that doesn't move? We look at the turn ratio and it's like, why are you sitting on these Zots candies that sit for 6 months because one customer wants it every 6 months? Why are we even selling Zots? We recategorize the profitable items. It triggers a cascade of consideration. But since most businesses don't take their profit first, they say, $30 came in, I have $30. How am I going to get by at $30? And they find a way to get there. The greatest irony, Jay, is this. If you can find a way to survive, tread water for 4 years, what we're told is your business is on the verge of collapse. The reality is it's not. Your business is on the verge of success because you've proven no matter the circumstances, you keep treading water. So we're going to change the circumstances to put you in a profit trajectory. And since you've proven you can tread water, you're now going to tread water at the appropriate size as we take your profit first. So any of these businesses, anyone listening in right now, start taking your profit immediately. My one tip is if you're doing this alone without a profit first professional, you're just doing it solo, just start really low. Just try it with 1 or 2% toward profit, just to prove to yourself that you can take a little skim off the top and store it away. Then as you get results, amplify it at 3 or 4%, or I would definitely suggest, get an expert in to really do it right. Just like a trainer at a gym, do it right. But start slow and let it grow if you're doing it alone.
So this is completely backwards to the normal way we think about accounting, where
100%.
It's what's left over is the profit.
There was a
you're
report
saying
that came out from the SBA. That's the Small Business Administration in the U.S. They'd studied North America, all 3 of the major countries here. Well, I guess all 3 of the countries, period. There's not a 4th country, at least. Well, not yet. I'm sure it's something wacky. But of our 3 countries, 83% of businesses are not profitable. 83% of businesses that exist today, and between our 3 countries here, is somewhere of like around 50 million businesses. 83% are just getting by. And that's true with the Shopify network too. If you're an e-commerce business, you hear these success stories, but the majority of people, even though it's an amazing platform, are dying and struggling. And so people say profit first is backwards to accounting. No, accounting is backwards to profitability.
Yeah.
It's a very logical system. You have sales, you subtract expenses, and you see what your profit is. That makes mathematical sense. But behaviorally, when something comes first, like profit, you actually do it. If I want to exercise, you have to exercise first. If I love my family, I don't say, I put my family last. I say I put them first. What comes first gets done. So this is my big opinion. I think accounting is backwards, traditional accounting. And I think the right way is to take your profit and then see what you have available to operate a healthy business.
There's an analogy in your book, actually just reminded me of it, losing weight. There's the 4 principles of
small plates,
the plate size, the order you eat.
Vegetables first.
Explain that, because I thought that was a great framework of thinking about how that applies.
Yeah, so I'll do the small plates one first because it's fascinating. So just a quick background is plates in North America, all 3 countries, plates have doubled in size over the last 300 years. So 300 years ago in the 1700s, plates were what we consider a coffee saucer was a dining plate or a dessert plate. We consider, but now our plates are double the size. What's so interesting is humans haven't changed. Back then, they filled up their plates and their mom said, clean up your plate. And they did. Today, we fill up our plates and our moms say, clean up the plates. And we do. But since the plate has doubled in size, the serving has doubled in size. And now societally, our waistline has doubled in size. This fitness instructor said the simplest and most effective way to reduce and control your weight is actually to change the plates at your house to those dessert plates. And that's your entree plate because it's portion control. And I found in our business the exact same thing. We have one plate, which is our checking account. All the deposits go in there. And the more that's served, the more magically we consume. So what I teach in Profit First is at your bank level, set up little plates, one for profitability, so that's assured, but one for your tax liabilities, one for your inventory purchases, one for your payroll, and so forth. And now when money comes in, instead of having one checking account, we divide the money up on a percentage basis, these little plates, and you see what's available for what purpose. It's effectively the envelope system, but at the bank level.
Yeah, I love it because one thing that struck me when you talked about that was I often think for someone to innovate or to be innovative, you have to restrict time, restrict resources, restrict money.
Yeah.
The more, it's Parkinson's law?
Exactly.
But yeah, a task will expand to
meet the available resource.
The available resources, right? And so will our spend, essentially. Is that
correct? It's part of Parkinson's law, yeah.
Yeah.
And the flip side of Parkinson's law is when you constrain resources, it's forced frugality. You have to work with what you got, but you become innovative. We see it play out all the time. And so in your personal life, I call it the toothpaste situation. When you have a full tube of toothpaste, look how much you use. When you have an empty tube of toothpaste, look how little you use, but how you stretch it for day after day after day until you get a new tube. It happens on grand geopolitics. The U.S. says we're going to stop shipping to China chips, the high-end chips to do their AI. So what does China do? They find a way to do DeepSeek or whatever it is on the microeconomy on cheapo chips, and they kick our butt. So when you constrain, innovation kicks in. So with business owners, the default is like, I need all my money to get by. That's the bad side of Parkinson's law. When you take your profit first and hide it, you constrain the amount of cash available. The magic that happens is innovation. Our own office, so of course, every business I own does this, but my own office, we did this and we set aside very little for technology. And we're a very technology-oriented business. So it came about that we needed to get new computers for our staff because our computers are getting old. And I met with our president, Kelsey, who you spoke with. And I said, Kelsey, we don't have enough to get computers. She's like, well, how about we start making some phone calls? So one of the ideas that comes about is how do you get computers for nothing? We called a local pharma company, a large one called La Roche, and said, hey, we're looking at computers. They said, oh, thanks for calling. Every 3 years, we rotate our computers and sell them to our employees for $50 a computer. If they don't take them all, then we junk them. We'll tell you when we have a junk set and you can take them. They gave us 10 computers. They had actually about 50 left over. So we took 20 of them. These computers, we still run on them today. This is 10 years ago. They are so high end. We could have never afforded them, but it was junk to this big company. But the funny thing is we've never even thought of that. If we had the cash, we'd say, let's hop on Amazon or, let's hop on some computer site on Shopify and buy them up. We didn't. And so when you constrain cash, you start to think out of the box. If you don't constrain cash, you dumbify yourself.
I wonder what I don't know if you could calculate this, but the percentage of waste that is caused by not having constraints. Like it's that number in America would be huge, like astronomical,
unbelievable.
Yeah.
There's so many resources that are underutilized and just sit there. I think I heard once a study of vehicles. I think it was like 96% of vehicles right now are sitting static and won't move for at least another 24 hours.
That's crazy.
Yes. One car could serve 20 people in a neighborhood, for example. And the funny thing is it may be coming about as autonomous technology comes about, that might actually happen. So what can we do? What's the resources that we're buying that we don't use? And how's a way to get that resource only for when we need it, so we get the same service out of it, but cut our costs by 1/10 or 1/100th. We've got to think that way. It's not natural to think that way unless you don't have the money. That's why we got to take it away first.
Okay, for those listening, I highly recommend reading Profit First. We're skimming the surface here, but I want to touch on a couple things from some other books too, because I've had a number of people on the show that have written a book, and we spend the whole time talking about the book. That's but cool. you've got 10, so we got we got to jump around a little bit. You said something at the beginning that I really really liked. You said it's hustle is not the measure of success. It's, can you remove yourself? Something like that. So your book Clockwork, I want to dive into, because I think that is very relevant. A lot of entrepreneurs running their business are working 12, 14-hour days. It's completely dependent on them. They can't remove themselves. Some might say they just have a job with a really bad boss. So tell me about the thesis behind Clockwork.
So the thesis is, it's around this I call the superhero syndrome. And that when you start a business and it's only you, it mandates, because you don't have any resources, that you insert yourself. But then there's this perverted belief that, I'm necessary and I can do this. I call it the I can do syndrome. I can do the accounting. I can do the order fulfillment. You can because you had to, but you sucked at it. And there's other individuals, other resources, other technology that's better at it. There's also this belief that I have a performance level of a certain standard, and absent me, my team, my resources are a lower level. Therefore, it's necessary for me to keep on pulling the organization up. But that's a perverted belief. What we need to do is actually extract ourselves from the business, find the homeostasis. What's the natural level of performance of my business? And if I, the owner, not satisfied, to build infrastructure below it. Could you imagine Jeff Bezos of Amazon says, you know what, I got to ship the packages. I don't like how they're wrapping those up. Like, how absurd that would be. But there was a time he actually shipped the packages when he had it out of his garage. But as fast as he could, he said, I will never do it again. We got to build a list of all the things we do and start delegating those out absolutely fast. But I'll tell you the thing that most people delegate. It's the thing I don't like doing. I don't like taking customer service calls. I'll delegate that. That's actually the wrong thing to delegate. Delegate the thing you love most, because the love becomes the addiction. I love doing the customer interface. I love talking with customers and just chit-chatting it up. Do you know, as you get rid of the things you don't like, you'll do more and more of what you love, and you start building this kind of callus around you, and that becomes your fiefdom. And that's a real problem. You have to have the wherewithal to remove the thing you love doing, delegate that out, and now, over time, the things that remain for you are the things you like least, which will expedite your extraction from the company. Now, the catalyst, kind of like a Profit First, I always look for a catalyst. The catalyst is ultimately the 4-week vacation. We just invested in a company that does septic installs, and the owner is the whole knowledge base. He is so technically oriented. And we said, Alan, we're getting you out of the business. We're taking you out for 4 weeks. And he almost had a heart attack hearing that. And you don't do it the next morning. But if you're going to have a heart attack, that also means we don't have the systems in place. Well, as we removed him, sure enough, the business sunk down, but now we know the performance of the business, and all the problems that he was always rushing around trying to fix, they started popping up like, oh, we need to systematize that. Oh, we need a resource here or a person there. So I invite your listeners right now, go to your calendar, put a 4-week vacation. Now, this is a full physical and digital disconnect. No working remotely. That's not that stuff. You're out. And you can schedule it for up to a year out, but no longer than that. If you feel terrified about doing that, that is like your business screaming at you, we are too dependent on you. Now, the other thing that'll happen, I do this for myself. This is my 7th or 8th year consecutively of taking 4-week vacations. The very first time I did it, I left and I was terrified. I'm like, first, like, my business is going to collapse. Secondly, my ego is like, well, what do I do with my life if I'm not working inside my business? And finally, my mind went on vacation. When I came back, we had some problems, but my team navigated best they could. And the problems we identified, then that was my job to help build systems to fix it. And then I left again and again. The lesson here is the business doesn't, you don't need a vacation nearly as much as the business needs a vacation from you. But the final part of this story, Kelsey, our president, after 2 years of me taking 4-week vacations, she said, Mike, I think we all need to take a 4-week vacation. I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, as you leave, the work gets delegated to other people and they can do it now. But what if Andrea, or who leads our marketing, she had that, or what if, or Jake or Jeremy, what if they aren't available? They need redundancy too. So she instituted, against my better wishes, and she's right, she instituted a 4-week vacation for everybody. And not like we take all at the same time. It's all over the place. And now there's just redundancy. The thing is, your employees, you yourself, things are going to happen. You will take a 4-week vacation. Usually it's unplanned. We plan for it, and it's built redundancy. It's like a fire drill in school. You do it enough times, when the fire actually happens, you know where to march. And that's what's happened with our company.
Andrea was telling me you even go so far as to change passwords on emails. So people you physically can't check your email while you're away.
Yeah, exactly. It was funny. Today, we have a sponsor, a major sponsor, and they wanted me to do a presentation this morning. And they needed to do a prep call half hour before, and Andrea leads that. So I hop on. Well, Andrea's on vacation, and in comes another person, Amy, and she's like, okay, we're doing this, this, and this. I'm like, oh, hey, Amy, haven't seen you in a while. How you doing? Good. She was totally fluid. Well, we've rehearsed this so many times. It wasn't like Andrea left, here's your script. Andrea doesn't kind of cram things together. Amy is always exposed to about 10% of what Andrea's doing. So when Andrea steps aside, Amy can step up. But also Andrea covers Amy, and so does Aaron. And it's all kind of this web effect. So when anyone steps out, we naturally are ready for the next person to step up.
Yeah.
I would say it's the strongest type of organization is not the traditional pyramid structure. It's this web-like structure.
Agree 100%. Because you inherently think there's a ceiling of what you can't do and what's below you. And
that's right. None of that. And we even stripped away titles. People like, what's your title? Like author guy thingy, I think, but I don't know. The only person with the title is Kelsey, because a company needs a president. So we're like, okay, you're president. And she is such a extraordinary human that she doesn't feel entitled by that. She feels that's a responsibility, but whatever the company needs, she'll fulfill that. So people have roles, but minus the titles.
So on a real practical level here, if someone is running a store by themselves, I imagine you could automate a number of things through like VAs and AI tool. Like this is something that when you have a few employees, like most of our listeners are in that bucket, but there are some solopreneurs. So what does that look like as you at maybe like the different stages?
So the obvious and appropriate things are the VA, the contractor, vendors you have, technology. I'll tell you the unobvious, really powerful, best ally for you in getting work done is actually your own customers. And no one thinks about that. It used to be, I grew up in the day where if you wanted to order something, you couldn't go online. The internet didn't exist back in the 80s. So what we would do is you would get a catalog and you'd call. And then this operator would say, well, what's the mailing address? What's the credit card information? And you repeat it like 10 times over. Well, then someone said, oh, let's do order taking over the internet. We're going to have the customer enter the data. So we don't have an operator do it. We're going to tell the customer, you now have a job. Enter your address, enter your credit card information. And sure enough, I'm click-clacking away going, oh, this is amazing. And I can do the work for this. And it's accurate now. Send it to me. And I'm paying them to do it. The customer in the right positioning will gleefully do the work for you. They can help in areas that you never thought of. So ask, what is the challenge I have? And before you say, how do I outsource it? How do I find a resource? Saying, how can I have the customer gleefully do this work on my behalf, on their behalf, through my company? And you may surprise yourself.
That's so true. I'm thinking of multiple ways that this could implement. Like we do so many things, like from returns to support to self-help to tracking. There so much can be automated that that's a fascinating one. Is I think you don't have, if you can't leave your business, I would argue whether it is a business.
I 100% agree.
Or whether it's just a job and you are your own boss, which is okay, but it isn't a business. Like a business should be able to run. If you're sick, it goes on. If it dies, you had a job, right?
100% agree. one of my favorite experiences, I often go to a McDonald's when I'm traveling. And Mr. Health's not here.
Shame on you. Don't you
I'll have a Big
exercise
Mac,
5 days a
please.
week or something?
Yeah. Give me the largest Coke. So I'll go to McDonald's because it's so convenient. But I started a tradition for myself now about 10 years ago. When I go to a McDonald's, I'll say, hey, may I speak to the owner real quick? I can't actually think of a single instance, and over
They're
50
there.
times, where the cashier's like, oh yeah, the owner's in the back, right? Let me grab her.
Yeah.
I had one instance, this is my favorite. I go to the cashier, I said, I'd like to talk to the owner. And it's not like I have a complaint. I just would like to learn about this business. The cashier goes, I don't think I ever met the owner. Oh, no. He was here about a month ago to pick up the money. To pick up the money. I was like, that's ownership. What an owner's doing is creating opportunities for others to live, the job of an entrepreneur, good lives, to do good things, to achieve good outcomes. And our responsibility is to enable that as much as possible. And at a McDonald's, maybe it's a transitional position. Maybe someone's not going to work there their entire life. It's unlikely, but maybe they can stage it as a transition for that person. But if that owner is cooking the fries or flipping the hamburgers, they are blocking people for having that life experience to move to where they want to go. So the owners got to get the F out of the way. And I'll tell you that McDonald's owners, they've nailed it. We got to have that mentality in our own business. Is that franchise mentality? Is can we build it that can operate in our absence? And then we can do the greatest gift of all, which is do more of it to employ more people and make it an environment that serves people the greatest way. And if I see a business where the employees are being taken advantage of, they're the ones who are forced to grind it out, they're the ones who are taking on the burden, then I have a responsibility as an owner to create a competing company that does a better job to serve people way better than that. And those people then will flock to me. And that's the job of the owner, to create great environments, not to work within one.
Do you think there's a lot of people don't leave because they see themselves as they need to be there, they need to inspire the team, or if they leave, I need to be the hardest one working, the first one in, the last one out. There's this sense of I personally have that for me. I feel that I do take time off. I would say I'm somewhat balanced, but I do also feel that I need to be present. I need to be, that's probably a struggle for a lot of people.
Yeah. So that's a huge struggle. And they say, I have to demonstrate my expectation through my effort. And I think that's a very perverted belief, because what we're saying to people is my presence is what I also expect of you. If I'm here 20 hours a day or whatever it is, you better be here 19 hours a day. Is that what we want, or is it the output? If we can demonstrate the success of our business without our input, maybe we can encourage our colleagues to be highly productive, not sacrificing their time. If I say I prioritize my family and I want to be there for my family, and I also expect the same of you, that changes it. I'll tell you one thing that really changed things for me, my computer crime investigation business. I remember coming out of the office, we achieved $5 million. We were actually approaching $7 million at that time on a run for it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, next year we hit 10 million. Up to that point, I never had a business achieve 10 million in revenue. So I come out and I had 30 colleagues at the time. I call everyone together in this room we had. And I said, I got a big reveal. And I had Patty, my assistant, cue up Survivor, whatever that song. I had the tire.
Oh, yes.
Dude, total cheese. If I had a smoke machine, I would have rolled that out too. And I had this big flip chart and I wrote 10 million behind it, but I have a piece of paper covered. I'm like, this is the year we achieved. And I rip it off, $10 million in revenue. And there's this resounding sound of silence. Like people are like, okay. And people kind of slump away. I'm like, what the hell has happened? Like, this is a big vision. We have the goal. And Patty says, Mike, you get the new house. You get the new car. Why should we care? What about our visions? I was like, holy crap. And that's where I started to understand the corporate vision is nonsense. That is the dream of the owner. They don't care about where the corporation's going. Everyone cares about where they're going. When I get to a certain goal in my corporation, that's my big fat ego being stroked. That's meaningful to me to spit in someone's face that said, you will never make it. I can prove I did. I have one colleague who wanted to move internationally. I had another person who's trying to buy their first home. I have another person who's coming over a life-threatening disease. That's their vision, is to achieve that. The job of a leader is to say, how do we achieve your goals through your job? I can't grant your wishes. And that's not my mission, but my mission is to know what your vision is and to somehow align your role to help you accomplish that, because that's why you're actually here. And when you care for your colleagues' visions with your absolute core, reciprocity is they will care for your vision, the corporate vision.
I love that. I want to get to your new book you're coming out, or that's coming out soon. Is it out yet?
No, it comes out in January. But you can pre-order it right now at your favorite retailer.
The Money Habit, right?
The Money Habit, yeah.
Okay, I don't know much about it. I heard you talk about it on a podcast.
Oh,
and tell me about it.
Oh yeah, I'll give you a big reveal. It's my first book that's not only for entrepreneurs. So it's profit first, but it's translated to personal finance. So it's a personal finance book. But here's how it came about. I got a call from this guy, Tommy, and he's like, he has a garage door. They install garage doors. And he read Profit First. And he's like, dude, I am permanently profitable because of you. And he goes, I have one problem left though. And I said, okay. He goes, my employees are struggling financially. He goes, they ask me to pay them more and I try to, and I can only pay so much. But even when I pay them more, they struggle financially. They need a Profit First for their lives. He goes, can you teach them Profit First? I said, yeah. I said, how many is it? Like a handful of employees, like 6 or 7? He's like, no, it's 900. 900. I'm like, 900? He goes, yeah, we're national. We have 20 or 30 locations. We have 900 employees and they need to know this. I'm like, okay. So we did a beta with, I think, 30 people to start, and then they expanded it and they're teaching everyone. And we transformed these folks. What was so interesting is financial independence doesn't come from earning more. It comes from being able to control your money more. Yes, earning more helps, but only once you've control. And there's these distinct stages. First, we need to bring clarity to how you're managing your finances now. Then we bring control. And once you have control, you have confidence. Once you have confidence, now you can roll forward. We got to get rid of that financial worry. And the vast majority of the human population has financial stress. Myself, I have what's called tinnitus, which is ringing in the ears. And I was born with it. It's constant. And it's this constant ringing in the background. And it can be very stressful. And what I realized is, oh my gosh, we all have financial tinnitus. Like if you're struggling financially, you wake up in the morning and you just feel that pain. It just drains you. I lived that. When you're at work and someone's like, hey, can you go out to lunch? You're just like, yeah, but I can't afford it. Like there's always that ringing. And like, if we can put authority and control around that, the ringing might be able to go away. So I create a system that works with our natural habits. You don't have to change a thing about who you are. It's profit first principles plus a few that do it. The last thing I discovered as I was teaching this to the garage company, someone said, yeah, you know what, if I just won the lottery, if I just had, a couple $1 million, everything would be fixed. And I'm like, I think you already have a couple million. They're like, what are you talking about? The average North American, 3 countries, makes $50,000 a year on average. And so if you're listening right now and you make more than 50,000, you're actually outperforming folks. But the average person makes 50,000 a year. The average person works for 40 years. 40 years times 50,000 is $2 million. Most people are going to make millions of dollars in their lifetime on the aggregate. We have to know how to manage millions is the lesson here, because you're already going to make millions. So millions isn't going to serve you. It's knowing how to manage it. And that's what the Money Habit does. We talked earlier about the global percentage of waste of spend. The global percentage of inefficiency, like at work or in life because of that. Sorry, what was it with your ear? It was called tinnitus. Yeah. There's that low grade anxiety that it's people devastating business
carry around. Yeah. And you're in a meeting, you're on a sales call, but in the back of your head, you're like, I don't know how I'm going to pay rent on Friday, or exactly shoot, right, I need this. And you can't perform your best when you're worried about paying rent on Friday or paying your mortgage, or if your kids, what they're going to, like that's going to have a massive effect.
I did a webinar yesterday with entrepreneurs, all different sizes. And it was anonymous on the chat. I said, what is your biggest financial worry? Like every day, what's that ringing in your ears? The number one response was mortgage or rent. And these are, entrepreneurs. It's funny, the outside world, most people are not entrepreneurs. Like, wow, you're rich, you're nailing it. No, we are just as worried, if not more so than everyone else, about paying that. And the consequence is how you perform at work. The consequence is at home. are you really present when you can't, or you're concerned if you're not gonna be able to pay for the food on the table or for the rent? Of course not.
Yeah.
I've been very lucky to experience both sides, and I really do consider it luck. I've lived way too long knowing what's not being able, or being fearful that I'm not gonna be able to make something like rent, and how devastating that is just to my attention. I've been on the flip side where, and I live that now, and I hope to, but we'll see, forever, where I have financial confidence, absolute assurity of what I can do and what I can't do. And I can't do it. I'm not buying that luxury boat or whatever. I'm not buying that jet. And I have assurity I'm not doing that because my financials tell me no. But my financials also say yes to what I can do. And living within those confines, oh my God, is it freeing? I don't worry. I sleep so well. I'm so present because I live within my means. And this attraction, there's always like dudes, these freaking broy dudes. I almost said the F word. These freaking broy dudes who are like, look at my jet and my the Lambo or the Bentley. This is success. No, that's douchery, man. That's not cool. If you got to show your success, first of all, that's not success, in my opinion. But secondly, that's a perversion trying to perpetuate out there that you have to make more to get there. The real is you're already there. It's just managing with what you have right now is the success.
Yeah. Well, and there's always going to be the guy has Lambo, someone's got a garage of them, or there's always going to be something else. Totally. Like you can never.
And the funny thing is, like, I know men and women who have that, and it's really cool. But I did find a subtle difference. I play poker with my buddies every so often. The person with the weakest hand is the biggest bluffer. Like every time the table, like, oh man, pushing all the chips in, trying to set the table. And like, okay, you got the weakest hand. The guy with it just happens to be all guys in this case, but the guy with the strongest hand, he's like, I don't know if I should stay in, I don't know, because he knows he's going to take the table.
Yeah,
I find this in life too. Is the people that got to say they're successful. There's something missing there. There's something really missing. It's the people who don't care about the comparison, who, whatever their situation is, and some people financially could be, perceivably off the charts, don't really care about what other people think about it. To me, that's success. And living within comfort of wherever you are, I think, is the biggest necessity for all of us.
That is so true. If I look back on my life, the percentage where I feel similar to you. Like I've been in those times where, how am I paying rent next month? And I've been in those times where I feel very blessed that it's not even a thought, and being able to be in both, you have perspective, and it's, I'm excited for that book to come out. Awesome. We're getting close on time here, and I want to be courteous. You've been so gracious with your time. What would you like to leave our listeners who are entrepreneurs? They are fighting the fight every day. E-commerce is such a competitive space. Yeah. There's a dozen other people selling the exact same products that are a click away on Google or Amazon or anywhere else. Like they're fighting hard. Anything that you can leave them with, some wisdom, inspiration,
perhaps inspiration, and maybe not in a way you expect it. So there was a phrase that circulates around a lot saying small business is the backbone of the economy. So I ran the analysis, the data behind it, and concluded small business is actually not the backbone of the economy. Small business is the entire economy. It's not just the backbone. It's the arms, it's the muscle, it's the brains, it's everything. In fact, every business I looked at, including these mega businesses, started in the garage. Like Amazon started literally in a garage. Some of them get investors, but it's a seedling of an idea. It's a small concept that maybe comes quickly, but the vast majority of them are slow moving. So here it is. Holy crap, do we need your success? Like Manitoba's counting on it. New Jersey's counting on it. The three great nations in North America, the whole globe is counting on your success. Like this, for our listener, this is bigger than you. You got to be successful for you. You got to be successful for your family. You got to be successful for your community. You got to be successful for our globe. We are thirsting for it. And yes, it's going to be very competitive. Yes, someone else is a click away from the same thing, but you can be different. You can find something that no one else can do because it's your story, your packaging, your innovation. You can use Parkinson's law to your benefit. The reduction of resources can amplify intelligence and thought and innovation. So please buck up. Like, I know it's hard, but gosh, we need you so badly. If small business goes away, stick a fork in all of us. We are done. To just put everything you got into it. You've got it. And I've got your back. Like, if I can be a resource for anyone, email me, call me. My team is there. I might not be able to get back to you personally, but some way, somehow, we'll try to support you.
I love it. Where would you like to send them? Where can they go to learn more about you? All those, yeah.
So my name's Mike Michalowicz. So of course I have MikeMichalowicz.com. No one can spell it. But my nickname in grade school was Mike Motorbike. And the only reason it was Mike Motorbike is because it rhymed. And I do have other nicknames, and they are so foul and X-rated, I can't share them. So MikeMotorbike.com, I bought the domain, I think when I was a kid. So go to MikeMotorbike.com, and at that website, I have all my books, chapter downloads, so you don't have to buy them. You can go into it.
Oh, amazing.
I just found out today, you can listen to Profit First on audio for free by going to YouTube and say, Profit First audiobook for free. Someone ripped it off and put it up there. I don't care that how you get it as much as that you get it.
Wow.
But MikeMotorbike.com, and I do have an email list. I send out a weekly tip that's really concise that hopefully will move your business forward. I used to write for the Wall Street Journal. I provide that content. I will do everything to give you the resources to level you up. MikeMotorbike.com.
Wow. Thank you for all you're doing, Mike. It's incredible. And the fact that you would mention that your book is on YouTube illegally, but you care about the message, not the money and the fame. It's helping entrepreneurs, which is incredibly, so much respect. So
thanks, bro. Thanks.
Thank you so much. This has been great. I wish you all the best, and I'm excited for your book to come out. And I will make sure to all the listeners that all those links, the main MikeMotorbike.com is in there, and everything else we talked about. And just thank you so much, Mike.
Jay, this has been a joy. Thanks.